Okay, the episode you're about to hear is actually from late 2025. That's right, last year with Noah Wheeler and Michael Rosato. This was a Patreon-only episode that covered the trip that Noah and Michael went on when Noah first tried Burden of Dreams and the infamous Sisu Project. If you'll remember, Noah went out there and had excellent links, almost did it on his first day, but then got hammered by rain and didn't really get a chance to complete the boulder. Since then, Noah had a serious finger injury. He completely ruptured his pulley. Hasn't even been that long, maybe 4 months, and he went back out to Burden in the spring and encountered some weather difficulties again, but this time it was too hot. We all were watching on Instagram as Noah proceeded to look extremely strong on many overlapping links, but he was struggling with conditions and also a heinous dab where he did in fact do the boulder, but he did in fact not do the boulder because his foot hit the pad while sending. Something I think that is important to point out is that it's easy for us to assume that it was predestined for Noah to just crush Burden of Dreams. We had saw him last year look good on it. We had saw him this year look good on it. But that's not how things work out behind the scenes. Noah was battling an injury, probably a lot of doubts there mentally, terrible hot weather, and then even getting so close with the dab, that must have just been frustrating to say the least. And his weather window was closing and he had to go home. But he got it done. And that's so important. That is what pros do. And of course he's going to do it, but actually executing on it when it has to be done is, well, it's what makes him a professional. And there was lots of legitimate reasons that Noah could have pointed to if he hadn't sent. He could say, I'm just getting back from injury. I had absolutely terrible weather. We have a very short window. I did send. I just dabbed. But no one's going to care or remember that. No one cares about those asterisks. They only care about them sending it. And so again, Noah, congrats on showing up, being a professional and getting it done. Everyone else may have thought it was predestined to happen, but I think all of us know that you probably had to dig deep and really execute when the time was right. And you did it. So congrats, man. Psyched for you. And I thought it was about time to release this episode that we had previously kept to only patrons. I think everyone's going to be psyched to hear about your first trip to Finland. And it seemed fitting that we all know now that when you went back, you sent Burden. So everyone enjoy this previously Patreon only episode that dove into Michael and Noah's first trip to Finland, where they tried Burden of Dreams and took a look at the Sisu Project. Welcome to the Test Piece Podcast. This podcast is about all things high-level climbing. How to go from good to great. I'm your host, Joshua Horsley. I've been climbing for over 30 years. We recently updated our Patreon, and now you get exclusive content from the guests that you love. You get your episodes before everyone else, and they're ad-free. Try it out now at patreon.com/testpiece with a free 7-day trial. Okay, let's start the show. Noah Wheeler, Michael Rosato. No, this isn't a board talk episode, but it could be. No, you got to hop on one of those at some point. This is a special behind the scenes pod focused on your guys' recent trip to Finland, where you guys checked out Burden of Dreams and the mysterious Sisu Project. I just want to get behind the scenes on that. That was just an epic trip. You guys released 2 videos about that trip. There's Helsinki, Tension in Finland, and that very moody, no words talking. Yeah, that's how I'm going to say it. Sisu. Of course, those videos, absolute bangers. Good job to all you guys and Quinn especially. But videos never tell the whole story. And I'd love to hear just more details about the climbing and the trip itself. And I thought I just wanted to start out with, how did this trip even come to be? Like, what was the impetus? I mean, I know it is Burden of Dreams, maybe one of the most iconic problems in bouldering, but Noah, when did this trip start?
Yeah. So obviously, as one would assume, I've always wanted to try Burden of Dreams And obviously, like, I feel like this year, especially since I just graduated, it became like more feasible, but it wasn't my like, that wasn't like in the plans at all until Hamish actually reached out to me like randomly in the summer. And he was like, will you be down to hit Burden of Dreams or to go to Burden of Dreams in the fall? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like this will help structure my next year, And so from that point on, like I was trying to like find a way to get brands to support it and stuff, and like just find a way to get over there, And yeah, we decided on October, early. I guess we went. When did we go? I guess we went late October. Is that right? Late October to early November. But yeah, I mean, I think I actually told Tension first because I was like, if there's a brand I want to like reel into this first, or like over any other brand, it would be Tension, So I don't know if I told Michael or Quinn first that like I'm trying to go to Burden and that Hamish is psyched, but
I think you told Quinn first.
Yeah, I think I was just climbing at the center and just told him. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's kind of that was it.
And you guys are like, yes.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
You guys, I think I told Quinn, and I was like, oh yeah, like Hamish and I might want to go to like Burden in the fall. And Quinn was like sign me up. Like he was like immediately he was just like, yeah. There was like no question,
Well, when I heard about it, Michael was like, oh, dude, I think I gotta miss the next board talk. I was like, why? Well, I'm going on a trip to Finland with Noah and Hamish to go check out Burden and Sisu. I was like, oh, that's literally the freaking coolest thing you could have ever said to me right now. Of course you said yes when Noah came. Yeah. Michael, tell me about it from kind of like the Tension side when that was proposed.
Well, I mean, I first was just going to send Quinn potentially because fall is always busy for us and there's a lot going on just in general. I mean, so but then I thought about it and I was like, I kind of want to go too because like I'm not, he doesn't get to have all the fun. Plus, I just thought like given the lift, like with we obviously wanted to get some content out of it, and I just thought like that would be kind of difficult, just a single person there. So, and usually everything we do is kind of a team effort, right? So I was like, let's just make it happen. But yeah, I was just happy that they threw the idea our way because otherwise I don't think, like I said on the last pod we did, I was like, I don't really think I would have ever gone otherwise. Like I don't really have any business working that thing. So, but it was great. I'm glad they told me. So,
well, no, I'm guessing that you have thought that potentially you would do Burden of Dreams at some point or try it or see it. Yeah. Like just tell me like where that climb sat in your head or your heart, or like, when did you come across it in your climbing career?
I don't know when I came across it. I don't need to give my like life climbing story, but I started climbing outside when I was like 17. And I think like maybe around that time is when I started watching like climbing media or like outdoor bouldering media. So I guess pretty like later on into my climbing career, I guess, did I like become aware of Burden of Dreams really? Like, although I guess it was first ascended like a year before that. So, but when I first like started getting into like climbing media, it was like mostly like the mellow Swiss videos and stuff. And so like it's always been like off the wagon at the top of like just the climbs that I want to try, and then like a bunch of other Swiss boulders like Poison the Well or something or Afira, and then like Burden's been like I always knew it's there and like it's kind of in that realm, but it was V17 and I was like, I don't know if that feels a little less like reachable for me, So it's always been like, I don't know if I'll ever go there, but it's like a boulder that I think about a lot, or that I hold in like high regard. But obviously just life circumstances turned out such that like it was reasonable to go and try that boulder at this point, But honestly, I didn't really like, I've just like kind of lived my life and it's just turned out that way. And I haven't really thought about it since. It's just like, okay, now it's time to try Burden of Dreams, But I do understand, I'm aware of the significance it holds specifically within like the board community or with regard to like board climbing. And therefore, like when I think of like the V17s that I most want to do, like it's at the top of the list, and it like has been for a while.
So then what was it like when you did walk up to it? I'm just curious, did it meet your expectations? I think that something that has happened to me when I go and I travel for specific climbs, which I rarely do. To be honest, man, I'm more like you where it's like, yeah, that'd be cool. but there's a lot of boulders in the world, and I feel like I have to be careful where I build up too much hype around a boulder and I expect it to be a certain way because it often isn't. And just, how did it feel when you walked up to the boulder? Was it bigger than you expected, smaller than you expected? What the holds feel like? Just that kind of, what were your first impressions of it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people hear this, but like I've always been told that like Burden, I mean, it has such like high regard in your head when you're younger, but then like, oftentimes I think it was kind of like circulating in like climbing discourse that like the boulder's kind of dumpy. Like, it's only like 15 feet or something. Like it doesn't look that cool when you're actually there. That's like what I'd heard beforehand. And so my expectations for the quality or the aesthetics of the boulder weren't super high. I mean, when I got there, it was like pretty cool. I thought it was like, I mean, I don't know. It's not like aesthetically very impressive, but I knew it wouldn't be, and it wasn't aesthetically like disappointing, at least, what really mattered to me is like, I mean, like you never know what the holds are going to feel like or look like on a climb. And the holds looked and felt different than I expected. And I knew they would, because it's just impossible to like target what the holds would feel like, without having a
unless you have a 3D replica,
yeah.
like everyone does now.
Then it'd be like, oh, it's the exact same. But like, yeah, I mean, the holds are bigger than I thought they would be. And that, honestly, one thing is like maybe feeling the holds and like seeing that they're like, half pad or something. And it's not super steep. I was like, like this, it didn't let me down, but it was like not as imposing as I thought it would be based on like the hold selection, really.
I felt the same way. That's what I said during the last pod, right? Like the holds, the hands aren't that bad. Like some of those Japanese guys that we were hanging out, they were just like straight up warming up on those holds, like just like dead hanging them and just doing pull-ups on the middle match area of the climb. So just if that tells you anything, but it's, I mean, it was really cool to see. And I don't know, I think it's pretty aesthetic. Like granted, it's not, because Sisu's a part of the conversation, right? Like it's not like that. She doesn't have like this grand thing, it doesn't have the height and all of that, but it certainly, as far as like purity and the rock is concerned, like I think it's pretty sick. I mean, personally, like what else can you ask for? Like you don't have to hike anywhere. It's literally right outside of the car door. And it is as pure as you can get. As far as it's a freaking board climb. Like it's straight up, it's crimps. It's so I don't know, checks a lot of boxes for me, but I guess when you're comparing it to, other V17s that maybe have this sort of grand aura when you walk up with, I don't know.
I'm not sure how many are like that. I mean, maybe you might have a better thought on that, but when it comes to there is something nice about purity. Like this is where it starts. There's like some obvious, I don't know. It actually doesn't look like the craziest, most obvious start from the videos, but I'd also be curious to hear a little bit about that start. There had been there's a little bit of controversy. I don't really want to go into it about people starting it with pads or rocks or how that might change the move. And it makes me think of something that Will Englund brought up on a Good Temps pod where we were talking about boulder quality. And there was something like there's less questions or concerns on really high quality boulders where you don't have to say like, was this one pad or was there an extra pebble here? Or, and so I'm just wondering about that start for, and just like, did you feel like there was any issues with that?
Oh, wait. Okay. I've heard people talk about this discourse. I haven't actually seen this discourse myself. Whenever someone mentions it, I think it's ridiculous. And I thought it was ridiculous beforehand. I think it's ridiculous now, having seen the boulder. For me, it didn't make really a difference how you start the boulder. It felt the same pulling on with both feet as it did pulling on with only left foot and placing my right foot and going. I mean, people like to it's fun to have discourse about very niche specific things, like how you pull on what, like how you pull onto a boulder. I don't think it really matters. I think it's a silly argument. I mean, even people who are trying the boulder don't seem to talk about it or really care about it. I don't know. I've barely thought about it, to be honest.
Yeah, if you're going to say that about Burden, then you got to say that about every sit start on the planet. Like if you're going to hyperanalyze something down to that with just because it's V17 and it is what it is, like, okay, so whatever, like then you have to apply that across the board. People are different sizes. It's not always the same, how, like who you are and how you pull on. It's not, you know what I'm saying? Like there's short people that, so I don't know. I think it's silly too. People who hyperanalyze that shit, like you need to turn around and hyperanalyze every other thing then, if that's the way it's going to be. So
it's also like, that's like subsequent ascenders rarely keep the same beta for any moves, often the start as well. Like I don't know why we hold Burden in a different regard than other boulders. Like this happens on every boulder, you know?
Awesome. I just want to be clear. I wasn't trying to open up some can of worms or throw shade on anyone's sends. More just like curious, you know, I love hearing it. I want to hear it's just like, oh, it's just a cool boulder. Like it's a sit start, whatever. Let's move on. On that idea of beta, whose beta did you end up mimicking? And just maybe you can take us through kind of like the blow by blow of like the first move, or maybe what gave you the most trouble and why you settled on the beta that you did.
Yeah. So first session, I mean, pulling on to like generate and like gain momentum is like kind of hard in itself, you know, because the left hand's so small. So most of the beta for me was like figuring out how to grab the left hand. And I'd heard from like Lee Sung-soo or something that like, or I'd heard from someone else that Lee Sung-soo said that it's really important to just full crimp the left hand as much as possible. And that was basically like my only beta, like full crimp the left hand as much as possible. And then everything else I tried to fit to what I just inherently or intuitively felt best. So like for the right hand, I basically just half cramp it. And I'm kind of just pulling on like compression. And then once I pull on, I kind of just like put all the weight in my upper body and then generate a little bit from the hips and just like pull up right into the right hand. And like, it felt like almost my beta was to make it as burly as possible almost, you know? And like, I was like, oh, this move's supposed to be hard, you know, like it's supposed to feel burly. And like, I kind of just embraced that burly feeling and like my fingers. And I mean, actually, I don't think we got it on camera, but so my first try was like, okay, it was fine. I think I hit the hold. And I think in my second try, I stuck the move actually.
Wow, dude.
And like, it felt pretty similar to the first try. My fingers were just like warm, you know? And it was just like, I mean, it was like my beta is not to use much beta and not to go very, or like not to like mech or analyze. So it like kind of makes sense that I would do quick. And then I was just like, I have done the move. I might as well just stick to this, not like overthink it, you know? I don't need to. And every subsequent try, I'll just intuitively learn the move more, you know? So yeah, the first move wasn't really the crux for me, certainly not the red point crux, but it might not even be the lowest percentage move for me. That move might be the last move, which is just like a bit more explosive, a bit more accurate, really. Yeah, the middle section actually took the longest to figure out. There's just so many different betas you can do for that. For me, it was like I did the far drop knee beta. The last move, I do like the high foot, like what everyone else does, kind of like Lee Sung-soo. I kind of do the same exact beta as Lee Sung-soo, actually. But I wasn't really trying to do that. I kind of just tried to like, my intention coming into figuring out beta for the boulder was just like cater the beta completely around my style. And that turned out pretty well.
You said the last move is the lowest percentage for you, which is kind of surprising. And I saw there was one clip of you hanging it one arm, which was pretty sick. And then some of them, like you flip that lower hand to like an undercling and it looked like that was the move that stopped you from sending it. Was that the first? So at the very end of that video, it has you with probably, I'm guessing, your best try. And was that the first day or was that a later wet day?
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to split out the days like in a binary way, but so the first day it was dry and like I did it in two parts. So I did the first move and then I fell placing the right toe for the drop knee. And then I did what they call the 15 stand, which is like from the drop knee on. And then when Michael was there, we had like maybe 2 more days where it was just straight up wet. And we spent like 2 to 3 hours drying the boulder and we tried to pull on. And we like, maybe we did Hamish and I collectively maybe did the last move like 4 or 5 times in those 2 days, but we couldn't even try like the start. I think the start was like just too wet to like even, you couldn't send the boulder in those days and you could barely even try. Like I tried to pull on the first move a few times and go for it. And it just felt like incredibly difficult, like maybe impossible. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try to figure out beta. Yeah, and then even the last move, like the hold was getting wet as we were throwing, so we had maybe like, I mean, we had like 15 minutes of a dry rock to throw to. So I like barely even counted those days because like we effectively didn't do anything. I split my skin a little bit on one of those days, but that's about it.
I wanted to make fun of you. I was watching the video because you're kind of infamous for bleeding and splitting. I was like, how did you get like a flapper or a split on like a wet day on your pinky? I was like, dude, just you don't even have to answer that.
I don't even know how I did, so I don't know if I could answer that for you.
Michael, you guys went right off the plane, had one dry day. Just tell me what it was like seeing Noah and Hamish on. Like, were you impressed with them? I mean, of course, watching those guys is impressive, but just what did you think?
Well, I don't know. You called this thing epic in the beginning, and so I think Noah and I think about this trip as epic in a different way, like maybe epic failure. I don't know. We had a great time regardless.
It was a good time.
It was a great time, let me just say, but it was just epic. It was, yeah, the weather was an epic disappointment. But when you say right off the plane, like I had been there, I guess a couple of days before Noah got there, and I picked him up, and literally the only bone dry day, which thank God you got in when you did, because you wouldn't have gotten a bone dry day otherwise. I picked him up in the airport, and we literally drove straight there. And so his best attempts were like literally right off the plane.
That's insane.
I was like, are we stopping the B&B or are we going like straight to the boulder? He was like, we're going straight to the boulder. It was insane.
Yeah, because Hamish and the rest of the crew were meeting us there and whatnot. But I wasn't surprised one bit, like how well Noah did. How could anybody at this point? Like there's a reason Noah keeps showing up on Board Lords, right? Like that, this thing is a freaking board climb. And I was like, if there's anything that he's going to do well on and do it quickly, it's this thing. But yeah, so, I mean, I would have been more surprised if he'd gotten housed by it, but that
happens sometimes.
Yeah. Just to push back on that. Dude, you never know. Like, I don't know. No, like, did you think you were going to crush? Did you want to flash it? You think you were going to do it in a day? I feel like, dude, it's still fucking Burden of Dreams V17. Like, you don't know. Each climb is different, man.
I mean, I'm very like, I never come in with like expectations for myself. Like when it comes to trying hard boulders, like I didn't have any idea. I just tried, But I did set sims, and they were nothing like the sims at all. It was way like it was not.
Are they on the TB2 or on
the
board? Can you send them to me? I'll put them in the link. Just like because it'd be cool to check out your Burden of Dreams simulator. Caveat: they aren't anything like Burden of Dreams.
Yeah, nothing like Burden. But
I wasn't surprised, man. I just like people. He's got all the variables necessary, and there's no frills with this thing. Like you see every little bit of it. It is. So I don't know. Nothing surprises me anymore, but, I don't know. I think what's funnier now is after the trip, like people are just mega impressed that Noah really didn't practice on like the replica. Like that's like the thing is like, it's almost like if you go to Burden, you must have had to have, practice on the replica, and it's just like it's crazy. The people it like exploded the internet when Noah was like, I've never tried a replica.
Dude, it seems like people assumed that I was on the replica because like that one guy commented like, were you on, or I think it was Martin Keller or whatever commented like how many sessions on the replica, and I was like I didn't have like any sessions. It has like I don't know, almost 1,000 likes or something. It's like ridiculous as a comment to a comment.
Yeah, it's like that's standard now.
Well, I mean, Michael, you were like saying how, it's roadside. It's right there. It's a great block, but it's not roadside. It's in fucking Finland. You guys, you guys flew around the world to it. Yeah. And I mean, I would say from my perspective, there's a side of me that, of course, Noah, it would have been awesome if you had bagged it in a day or done the trip. But there's also a side of me that's like, I assume you guys are going to go back and now you're going to probably have more time on like the Sisu project. And so, I think for some people, the way that they treat these things is I need to tick this box and then move on. And I understand that. But like to think it's like necessary or something is ridiculous because just going to have fun. Like it's a cool boulder. Like, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
for sure.
No, for real. It's like a standard. It's like the standard now. Well, yeah, I mean, that is true. Like when you put it that way, like you are flying to Finland. There's not a lot of other reason to be there, right? So, I mean, I understand why people do it because they want to be prepared and all that. But I really thought that was really funny that not only did he do really well on it, he didn't touch a replica. And this other thing I didn't know about that climb until we got there is like. It kind of, that boulder really suits smaller people. Like you don't see a lot of bigger climbers like I wouldn't say you're in the Clydesdale class or anything, but like like you don't see. I feel like the optimum spec for that is like probably 5'7", 5'8", and Noah and Hamish are outside of that for sure. So that was really interesting to me. I didn't really, the move connecting the first move and the rest is like kind of small box, and like you can see in the video where like they're both kind of dealing with all that knee that they have to like get that foot over. And so yeah, I don't know, I thought that was really interesting because they're definitely the tallest to like kind of pursue it, I think, so far. So
yeah, who is the tallest? And I'm trying to think.
Bozy? I think
probably Bozy.
Thought it was Bozy. He was like 5'8", maybe, or 5'9" or something.
He looks similarly shaped to you, dude. No,
like, I'm 5'11". Yeah.
You're 5'11". Really?
I'm taller than I climb, like by a lot or by a good amount.
And what about Hamish? He's similar, right?
I think he's 5'11" or 6 foot, but he's plus like 5 or something. He's dangly, dude. He climbs.
Yeah. And that was, again, I don't want to speak to his thing, but like that seemed to be like the thing for him is like dealing with in that middle section, like dealing with how much knee, like he was dropping to the floor when he was trying to get that toe over. And I could just, being a smaller person, I could see that being less of a problem.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Quick break while I tell you about today's sponsor. Thank you to all the patrons who help make this show possible. Join them so you can get episodes early before anyone else, and those episodes are ad-free. As a patron, you also get to submit questions for upcoming guests. The answers to those questions are only available to patrons. Follow the link in the show notes to join now. You also get access to a private Discord where you'll find me and other people who want to go from good to great. Okay, back to the pod. I gotta ask about the grade and about how it compares to boards. I mean, those are like separate questions, but in the same area. You've done some other V17s. You tried this that was established as a first V17. And I feel like the community seems to think of it as being kind of, I don't want to say it's the benchmark or the test piece V17, because often I feel like that means it's the hardest, but just that like people are like, we're okay with this being V17, whatever that means. Yeah. How does it compare to some of the other climbs in that grade that you've done or tried even?
I mean, so I think this is all coming from like my own subjectivity. Like, I think it says more about my style of climbing than it does about any like objective nature of grading. But like for me, I thought return. Well, I was weaker actually by quite a bit last year when I did both, but like return felt harder to do and Shaolin felt harder to do. But like for me, a good amount. But I mean, I trained a lot for this climb, for Burden. But I don't know. Yeah, Shaolin just felt like the crux move was harder for me than the first move of Burden by a decent amount. But it's so stylistic, like that doesn't really say much to the boys. I do feel like for me, Burden is not a like benchmark V17. Just personally, it would be like a much lower end climb in the grade. Although I feel hesitant saying anything about the grade, having not done it, like the process is part of the difficulty of the boulder,
Good caveats there. You also said you were on one, and dude, and your brother Ben said that you were just on. Everyone has been like, dude, you have been training hard. And so it's kind of a two-part question there. Like, what'd you do to be on one? And that was actually one of the questions I got in my Patreon channel was kind of like, do you peak for trips like this? And what did you do for it?
I mean, I was just training. I barely climbed outside at all for like 2 months heading into October, like when we went to Burden. I was just climbing on mostly just the tension board 2. But I really went deep on like breathing, like my warm up. I dialed in like a really set warm up. My eating, I don't know. I dialed in on like everything kind of. And but all of it was based around, it wasn't very scientific. Like it was all based around like, just body feel was the most important thing. Just like having my body and my fingers feel as like good and like dynamic as possible. Dynamic isn't like, yeah, like applicable for as many situations, and like flowy, just inherently flowy. Like I tried to like dial in a warm up that made me feel flowy like every session, you know, which is like part of that like dynamic nature. I don't know. I just like, yeah, it was really, it was like an exploratory sort of training, which I think is the best sort of training. But also with that, there was a lot of structure. I mean, like Charlie Schreiber, my coach, gave me a plan that I like generally followed, that worked on like specific things that I thought might be good for Burden, specifically like some like mental things concerning trying at your limit, and then other things like increasing like work capacity and like just dynamic movement and like finger engagement and just like dropping knees, all sorts of things.
Real quick on that, you said breathing. I was just kind of curious. That was like the last thing I would expect you to say you worked on for training. What do you mean by you worked on your breathing?
Well, I mean, a lot of the top level climbers talk about how breathing is a pretty like essential thing for them. And I kind of like, I listened to some like Adam Ondra interviews and stuff where he talks about breathing, and rather than like copy what they said, like their specific techniques for breathing, I like tried to just be intentional about my breathing and like focus on it, and like think about like how I naturally, when I do focus on trying to breathe, how do I naturally breathe when I'm on the wall, and how can I like accentuate that or focus on that when I need to, or when it benefits me. And like, so I'll like hop on the wall, and like, even if it's a like V2 move, if it's like a low dynamic, I'll like really focus on my breath and try to like sort of circulate it in like a flowy way, you know, and just like feel that as I do the move. Yeah, it's like sort of taking these general things that I know like benefit other climbers, and then like applying them to myself in the most personal way possible.
Very cool. Michael, did you also train for this trip? Did you watch what you were eating?
Yeah, I did. I got like my legs stronger so I could get those low angles on the gimbal and carry the camera.
Do you eat a lot of fish to prep for the high seafood?
I ate a lot of fish. Yeah. I had to train for sure.
This was something someone on my Patreon also pointed out, but I thought it was an interesting question. Michael, you guys supported this trip, and of course you're going to get content. How do you deal with the pressure or putting pressure on these guys to send or not send? And I want to set this context where my response to the person was, I'll ask this, but I think this is why it's so important to choose who you work with, because my hunch is that wasn't the vibe where you're like, no, if you don't do this, we aren't friends anymore.
You can't live with Quinn.
Yeah. By the way, well, first of all, like I considered Noah and Hamish like personal friends. So like the relationship is already there. It's not like a weird thing. And honestly, like all of the expenses, related to funding a trip and stuff like that, like weather is always an issue. You're never going to like, and the last thing you're trying to do is put pressure on anybody to do anything for any reason. Obviously, we always want the best outcome when we're trying to produce media. But again, I mean, that's why, I don't know, if you look at the things that we make, like we kind of have all of these different areas where like sometimes sends go down. Sometimes we put out things that are just about the vibe, which is, basically what we got out of this trip. And so, and you really can't produce that type of content unless you're, friends with these people and you're actually having a good time, because it really, and honestly, like this is kind of just because I was just talking to somebody about this. I think this is sort of a reflection of like where media and content is in this sport as a whole right now. Like, I think people are tired of seeing just the send all the time. Like, I think those moments in between are like really powerful. And I think that's what is more, I don't know. I think that's what people want to see more. So, again, regardless, when it came to this, like regardless of a send, we were going to have a good time with each other. because we're friends anyway. And so, yeah, I don't really feel pressure. I don't put pressure on anybody. Like, I'm just there trying to support just like I would any other thing. And, so yeah, I don't know. I again, for us, it's cool to have that opportunity to support them in that way. And, whether it's funding the trip or just being there to actually support. But anyway, I don't have any pressure. I don't, only pressure that I have is like to hit record on the camera or back the footage up. Like
get those strong legs too.
That's really it. Like I don't, because what we get, we're going to make something cool out of regardless. I'm confident enough in my small little team, which is basically me and Quinn most of the time, to just make something cool out of whatever we get.
Well, because it is cool. I mean, what you guys did when I was watching it, I don't get to go on these trips across the world to a new place with friends to go experience new boulders and all the crazy epics along the way. You guys aren't even talking about how Michael lost his luggage, how Quinn's passport got messed up. It's just not even but like those are like the hilarious stories later on and what builds like the best memories ever. And I mean, of course you make good content out of that because it is just good time. Like that is just some of the best parts of life and climbing.
Yeah. And I also will add, like, it's almost because I don't know, I was bitching about it last time saying like, oh man, I wish it could have been this, that, and the other. And I wish we could have done this and I wish it would have been that. And, there's always that. But I think at the end of it, what really makes me proud is that like, we didn't have any sins this trip, but I think the content that we made out of it was still very impactful. People really enjoyed it still. And to me, it proves that like, even if something goes really sour or doesn't go our way, we're still able to create something really good out of that. And again, I think that's because we are all friends. And, I think that, not to toot our horn here, but like, that's something that I think a lot of brands miss. Like when they're hiring out people to just show up and get the media and stuff, like there's a connection there that really kind of breeds really relatable and really good content when the people behind the camera are also like friends and know the people climbing. So anyway, all that is to say is I think that we're going to continue to do this. This is why this stuff is important to our brand.
Okay. Just please invite me next time. And
you always invited, man.
I probably won't be able to go, but somehow I love to go. Okay. Well, on that note of good media, and I love that you guys separated Burden and Sisu, and I love that you guys kept that mystique, like that you used that word earlier, Michael, on the last pod about Sisu. Yeah, I guess, I don't know, before we close out Burden, anything else that we should talk about? I mean, I guess I should ask, like, Noah, are you psyched to go back? And given your success on it, like, do you want to push that style more? Like, are you like, ooh, that was a fun style on rock? Like, and what if it was tilted back? What if you could just press a little button like on the TB2 to make it 50 degrees? Like, was that a fun boulder? Are you heading back? Are you looking for even harder versions of that?
So I am trying to head back as soon as possible. Meaning as soon as like the weather really permits, but not in the winter. And, ultimately I think it's unfortunate career wise, but I mean, it was a very nice experience regardless. And like, I think if I had sent in one session or in 3 sessions, like it's almost more anticlimactic that way, like, I mean, climbers always talk about how when they top a boulder, like they get a very like fleeting feeling, and it means much more when like the experience is like holistic and sort of builds into something, like culminates. And I think this experience kind of facilitates that, and it's nice that we have something artistic that like portrays that, in like, the Helsinki video. But also concerning the climb style and stuff, I was thinking like, as I was trying it and then reflecting that, like, I do think it would maybe go like 5 degrees steeper. And like that, if I were to do a V18, it would be Burden plus a V14 in the same style. And I think I could hypothetically do something of that difficulty. I'd have to find it, but like, I mean, it feels so stylistic. That style feels so good for me that like it does I was like thinking that like if this was a little steeper, like I think it would go for me. Or if we added a little thing on top of it, like this goes, you know. And that's also what I would want the first V18 to be.
In other words, he's not tapped out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what we can do is you can take the replica, you can play it up, and then keep tipping it steeper and steeper.
It's true.
I'm just kidding. But
or I could take the boulder and.
But you,
just jack that thing up from the back and just kind of.
All right, no bolts on the Sisu project, and no jack lift, no tipping of the burden. Okay, I feel like that's a good segue into next level boulders and ones that have just even more difficulties stacked on top of each other. Noah, tell me about Sisu. Maybe you know how you heard about it and that same kind of thing. Like, how'd you hear about what space to occupy in your climbing brain? And then what was it like walking up to it?
Yeah. I mean, you hear like whispers about it. Like there's not a lot of media that I've like consumed that I've been obsessed with that like has Sisu in it. It's more like you'll hear about Sisu every few months when people are like, oh, what's the most difficult project or famous project in the world? And you're like maybe it's Sisu Project. Like we don't really know where it is or what it is. That's kind of the extent of my like knowledge of it coming into it. But then touching the boulder, I mean, it kind of, I mean, for us, because we didn't even pull on it, it kind of, and even if we did, I imagine it would have like kept that mystique to a degree, because it just seems like it always keeps that distance from you, unless you were to put in like an absurd amount of time into it. Like, I mean, yeah, I can't say much about like the difficulty, but like the holds are so small, and they're so far from each other. Like, it really felt like instead of putting like 300 days into it and like hoping that you'll make progress and send on it, like, or send it like in that process, you might rather have to like put a bunch of 6 mil wood crimps on like a 40-degree wall and just like train on V17, like V17s on a spray wall for like years to train for. You know, like I think you'd have to train specifically for that boulder, not on that boulder, you know? That's my guess. But I think Hamish at first thought it went, and then it seemed like he arrived more on the side of it not going, but I think it does probably go. It just like we need to really max out micro climbing, like micro crimp climbing, you know.
Michael, you said something like you weren't sure if it went, and I guess coming from you, Michael, and hearing that from Noah and secondhand from Hamish, it's surprising to me that it's on that line of whether it goes or not. And yeah, Michael, like, I don't know, upon reflection, because we talked about this a little bit in the last pod, but I just want to go over it again. Like, do you think it goes? And after watching those guys on Burden and looking at like how did it look in comparison?
This is what's so hard about that. But I think this is what I think so cool about it. But I think that the direction we're going will get to a point where it's going to be pursued a lot more, and we will arrive at that answer. And I know that's not answering anything, but given the direction we're going, like in looking at that with Noah and Hamish and all of that, like I think it could be possible given the direction we're going. Why not? Like we're seeing more people younger and younger doing V15 like it's nothing. Why wouldn't we be in a place where we're eventually knocking on the door of like what, you know, sending something like that? I think it's really just because the variables are so fine and there's not that many involved in that piece of rock. Like there could be the thing that it is just not really obvious to me is connecting some of those moves and what it would take to do that. Because the holds, you can see the holds, but I don't know what it takes to get between them. I don't know if someone can be physically equipped enough to get between those holds. If that makes any sense. Like it almost looks like you have to be a certain size, but if you're that size, are you then able to pull on something that small? Like that's kind of the...
Oh, so you're saying like the distance between the holds probably requires a large frame, but then that typically means that you don't excel on 6 mils. Is that?
Yeah. Like you're not jumping to anything on that. There's no, so whatever you're doing, I think you're going to have a good level of control between your feet and all of that, whether you're like stemming in sort of the scoop of the dihedral or whatever. Like they're just not close enough. There's all these smaller climbers that are great crimpers and all this stuff, but I just I can't really see how they would fit between the holds without jumping. But you're not going to jump to those. So it's just one of those things where like it's going to take a certain person. And honestly, the guys we were with, I think, are like the perfect candidates because again, they're of a bigger build, and they can crimp the shit out of things, right? And I think that that there is going to be a high level of technicality to it, even if it doesn't look like it. So that's kind of why that's tricky.
No, I mean, you kind of answered this, but yeah, I just want to pose that idea of just, does it go? And maybe you can talk about it a little more in comparison to Burden in the sense of like, it's just as steep, or like these holds are much smaller, but they're the same type. Like just, yeah, maybe that comparison helps.
I mean, to me, it felt like steeper in some parts, less steep in other parts than Burden. It's around the same on average, but I think it starts a little steeper and gets less steep. But I mean, it's another realm. And this is why I think just like one of the first thoughts I had coming up to it was like, this is more than a grade harder than Burden. Like the holds are just immensely smaller and there's not that many feed options. And another thing I think worth considering with like pushing into maybe 2 grades plus, especially on like low move, high difficulty boulders, is that like limiting factors are more than just like whether you can hang like a 4 mil edge. It's also like whether your skin can handle a single attempt on a 4 millimeter edge. Like some climbs are just like, and I'm sort of having this difficulty right now with like this 15 plus project I'm trying in PA right now. Like I can give one good go without tape before my skin completely rips off because I'm putting all of my weight on like an 8 millimeter sharp crimp. Like this kind of seems like it'll become more of a factor in doing like potential V18 or V19 climbs. Just like, I don't know, it's like the limit of the human condition, almost like of like human skin, you know, like that's just like a silly thing, but like you're kind of like pushing those boundaries when you're at like that difficulty, you know. I don't think we're not really there with V17, you know, like you're not, I mean, you deal with skin, but like, I mean, I have bad skin, but like, yeah, no one's dealt with bad skin to like to the degree of like the holds are just not holdable for more than a few tries, you know. Like your tendons are just stronger than your skin, like, you know, like at a certain level. I don't know. It's pretty sick though.
I want to add there's 2 factors there too. Like, you know, the texture of that rock, something I like kind of alluded to last time, was it's very polished. And the reason why is like, I actually, after the pod, I did a little more research of like what Sisu actually is. It's called a glacial pothole. So the way those things form is they're usually holes in the ground, and they're these big, like sort of cavernous things. Basically they're usually filled with water and ice. And then what Sisu, it looks like happened, I'm not a geologist, I'm not going to know this for certain, but it looks like that half of that thing like fell away. And what was left was that scoop. And that's why it looks that way. So that texture is it is water polished in a way. So you're also dealing with like a very, very slick texture, I think, compared to a lot of other rocks. And, So that's one thing. And then just the workability of it. And I also said this before as well, like the size of it, the way that it's tilted, it's very hard to even hang. You're not going to be able to really hang a rope off the top of this thing and like swing into the holds. The holds aren't good enough. Back in that old video of Nale, why he's working it on a platform, like that's actually going to be necessary as well to actually try the middle of this boulder. You need to have like a platform. So there's logistics to it involved, like to it as well.
This could be the off the wagon of Finland. You could build. Well, okay. I hope that when you guys go back, you get a chance to chalk it up and check out good conditions, because when something is on the cusp of literally physically possible by humans, you know, it has to be in perfect conditions, right? I mean, like and what are those perfect conditions? Are they like a little bit humid, or are they like really, really dry? And how often does dry happen there? Or is it, you know, so you got to kind of like play around with it to even figure out if it's possible. But there's just this like old school thing in me that is hoping like Noah, you know, you and Hamish or whoever else does put effort towards it, because it just seems like it's fucking beautiful. I mean, I don't know. I didn't go, but I think it's beautiful from just some videos. And I don't know. I just like that idea of being on the line of human potential, being big and gorgeous versus like, you know, you said like, what if you added another V14 in the middle of Burden and it was, you know, 16 feet or whatever, instead of like 15 feet or like, I just feel like, who was I was talking to, I think Simone Lorenzi was talking about how there's like a different start for Alphane. He's like, you could add on even more moves and then maybe it's V18. It's just like, I don't know. I'm not saying like nothing wrong with that. That's cool. But there also is just something like deep inside me that's like, you know, when the first person walks up to El Cap, it's just like, well, that's fucking massive. Is that even humanly possible? I'm sure people thought that as well. And so I don't know, to see you guys push into that frontier would be really cool. Even if you don't send, it would be good media. So, yeah, I mean, please check it out.
I would argue that that's going to be necessary. Like somebody's going to have to try it. And I think that I'm not necessarily, when we put out that video, like I'm not asking for people to go swarm that area because that area doesn't look like it needs a lot. I mean, what does, right? Like nobody needs to swarm Sisu Project, but at the same time, like we're trying to like remind people that it exists. And like, if you're going to start pushing into that territory, like it's going to happen at some point. Like, so anyway, I think that people should start trying it. If they're going to Finland, I know Burden is the thing that you're trying to do, but you know, if you've got good weather and you've got enough time, I would love to start seeing people at least explore the possibility of doing it.
Yeah. What do you think? No, I know Hamish was psyched. I actually had a similar thing where Sisu, just all I thought about was like the little bit of it from Nale. And honestly, like I know there was some random YouTube videos that basically all they did was point towards like Nale's blog post and then just repeat that. And so there wasn't really anything about Sisu, and it had kind of like escaped my mind. And then when I last saw you, I think Noah too, was in Colorado. I had just done a pod with Hamish, and he's the one who brought it up to me. He was like, Sisu Project. I was like, oh yeah. And he made some comment about like, I want something that doesn't seem possible. And so like, yeah, it was Hamish site. I mean, don't speak for Hamish, but is it something that you would at least, that you want to head back to?
Oh yeah, I'd definitely try it. I would want to do Burden first, and then I put in
a safety tick, Burden safety tick.
Yeah, Burden's it now, but I give at least a day on Sisu. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Hamish, I can't say too much. I can't speak for him, but his psych was like, I mean, this speaks to how on the edge it is. His psych was like going back and forth depending on whether he like thought it was doable or not. You know, like he I think he lost a little psych when he saw exactly how just unbelievably difficult it looks. You know, like maybe like I thought I could start projecting this, but maybe not. You know, like and I felt the same way. Like, but I was less psyched in it going in. But it's just that hard.
All right, you guys, please book a trip back. Cool to hear about it. Cool to hear about the boots on the ground. I had asked your brother Ben, about anything that he wanted to hear from the trip, but really he just wanted to say how much he loved the Noah Hamish bromance, which now that I say that word,
he always talks about that.
But now that I say that word, it sounds ridiculous because he is your brother. So bromance, but I love seeing you guys together. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Ben, are you jealous? I do love seeing, it's really hard to just push and do your best when you're by yourself. I think it is cool to have others around that maybe they do a move that you think is like freaking impossible and they do it easily. And you're like, oh, this is possible. This move isn't V20. It's actually a move that can be done and maybe by me. And so I just always think it's fun as you see kind of like the top end climbers kind of get together and siege good stuff. And sometimes makes climbing special too, where there's like, there's fun, there's vibes. And yeah, so just, I don't know. It was a good call out by Ben. I don't think he's jealous. I think he meant it in the best way.
No, that's nice. Yeah, no, it's great. We push each other. So it's good.
All right, guys, anything you want to say about the trip or things that should have made into the video, but didn't before we wrap it up?
One thing I just wanted to mention, and this is a shameless plug. I don't care. This is Patreon, so I'll say it. But yes, Tension supported this thing, and we supported this thing, and we funded a good portion of it. But it's also the Tension customers that are allowing us to do this. I just want to say that because we are like, things that you buy from us are directly going into things like this. And so I would just say thank you to anyone who's ever supported us, bought something from us, because that is what kind of allows us to go on these things, fund trips, pay athletes, etc. So I just want to say thanks. It ain't all about us just doing it. It's not just art. So true. It's people who are kind of supporting via whatever they buy into via Tension. So that they should feel good about that. They're making a lot of this happen. So
I'm just going to speak for the general public as someone who's bought a lot of Tension products over the years. Is that's what is cool to see though, is that it's a flywheel that's okay, we buy great products, it goes to pushing climbing even further, and then you guys are out there and make even cooler products because you got boots on the ground. And so, I think that's a really cool. It makes me think of something we talked about, Noah, where there's a lot of pressure from, maybe I'll say, typical sponsors to, tick the next V17 or fucking V18. And maybe there's not as much reward for not sending on a next level thing like Sisu, or, this, we had kind of talked about hypnotized minds and how sometimes you're attracted to lines that are from the past, and there's not necessarily alignment of incentives. And so it's kind of cool to just align those incentives and have the support to chase after things that are meaningful to the climb community and don't necessarily just, make for a good TikTok.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Or it's also, it's effectively your marketing budget, but it's going towards what I think is culturally important, it's pretty lucky, and it's not every brand, that does that. But
be honest with you, we put and the reason I have this front of mind is because we're ending up the year, and I'm looking at the expenses and shit like that. And we spend upwards of 35 to 40% of our marketing budget. And that goes straight to athletes. That's not a joke. So if anybody there's a lot of talk about supporting athletes and how brands can do it and all of that stuff. And I will just tell you right now, the support of our customers goes directly to doing that. And this is sort of this is the result. You're able to see that in real time. So anyway, that's all I'll say. I'll stop the Tension plug, but I just want to do more of this shit, and I just want people to understand, look, that's why, that's why we can do this. So anyway,
yes, more of it, please. And yes, this is a Patreon only podcast that will go out on the Tension Patreon, the Wheel Rock Patreon. And just because I didn't announce myself in the beginning, I'm Josh Horsley from Test Piece, and this will be on our Patreon as well. And so thank you to everyone for helping these guys almost do Burden of Dreams.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, let's do another one after the next trip. Stay on one, Noah. Don't get hurt, and go do Off the Wagon as another safety tick on your way to doing Burden of Dreams as the next safety tick. And then tell us more about Sisu once you finally get to chalk it up and pull on.
Will do.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.